In a small town in Ohio, there lived a boy named Ryan Mitchell. He was incredibly smart, the kind of kid who could grasp complex concepts in seconds, while others struggled for hours. He had so much potential that everyone believed he could achieve anything he set his mind to. Ryan had a big dream, a dream that burned bright in his heart every single day. He wanted to become a doctor, to wear that white coat and save lives. Everything seemed to be going well. His grades were decent, his goal was crystal clear, and his path seemed straightforward. But Ryan had one massive problem, a problem that would eventually threaten everything he hoped for. He couldn't control his own mind. Ryan's mind was like a browser with 50 tabs open at once, always restless, always jumping from one thing to another, never settling down long enough to focus on what truly mattered. Every single time he sat down at his desk to study, the moment he opened his textbook, his mind would start to wander. Sometimes it drifted toward his iPhone sitting on the edge of the desk, buzzing with notifications. Sometimes it pulled him toward Instagram or TikTok, where endless scrolling awaited. Sometimes it dragged him to YouTube, where just one video would turn into 3 hours of watching random content. And sometimes his mind would just slip into daydreams, imagining himself already successful, already a doctor, without putting in any of the actual work to get there. He would often tell himself, leaning back in his chair with a sigh, "Oh, there's still plenty of time. I'll study later tonight." But the funny thing was, the ironic and tragic thing was, that later never really came. When night arrived, he'd find another excuse. When morning came, he'd push it off again. His parents would sit him down at the dinner table, concern written all over their faces, and tell him how crucial it was to study with complete focus. Even his teachers at Lincoln High School, the ones who saw his potential, would pull him aside after class and warn him about wasting his gifts. But Ryan had convinced himself of something dangerous. He believed that if someone is naturally smart, if they have raw intelligence, they will succeed no matter what. He thought discipline was something only average students needed, not someone like him. He thought nothing else was really needed besides that intelligence he was born with. One cold November morning, the results of the state scholarship exam were posted online. Ryan had hoped, almost desperately hoped in his heart, that if he won that scholarship, his dream of attending medical school would become so much easier. The scholarship would cover tuition, open doors, prove to everyone including himself that he was on the right track. But when he clicked on the results page and saw his name, when he saw that devastating word next to it, his heart absolutely shattered. He had failed, not just barely failed, but failed significantly. Meanwhile, his friends, kids like Marcus and Emily who studied regularly at the library, who didn't have his natural intelligence, but had something far more valuable, they all did incredibly well. They were celebrating, hugging each other, their future suddenly bright and secure. The same teachers who once praised Ryan's quick mind, who called him gifted and brilliant, now looked at him with something worse than anger. They looked at him with disappointment, with pity, with the sad recognition of wasted potential. That cold November evening, Ryan sat alone in his bedroom, the door closed, the lights dim, staring at nothing. He felt a deep, burning shame that reached into his chest and squeezed. He knew, he absolutely knew in that moment, that he wasn't lacking intelligence. His brain worked just fine. He had just wasted time, precious time that would never come back. In that quiet, painful moment of self-reflection, he realized something critically important, something that would change the entire trajectory of his life. Being smart, having natural talent, possessing intelligence, none of that is enough. Without discipline, without the ability to control yourself and direct your energy, no real success will ever come. Right after that realization hit him like a lightning bolt, Ryan made a decision, a real decision this time, not just another empty promise to himself. He had to change, truly change from the inside out. So he started looking for help, not just any tutor who would drill facts into his head, but someone who would teach him how to build discipline, how to master his own mind. He asked around school, searched online, talked to counselors, and eventually he found exactly what he needed. Coach David Miller, a highly experienced and respected coach at Lincoln High. Coach Miller wasn't your typical gym teacher who just blew a whistle and made kids run laps. He was known throughout the district for something special. He helped students, especially the struggling ones, improve their mental focus and build genuine self-control. People around town used to say, parents would whisper to each other at PTA meetings, that even the most distracted, unfocused, wild teenagers would slowly transform into disciplined, purposeful young adults under Coach Miller's guidance. It seemed almost magical, but it wasn't magic at all. It was method, it was wisdom, it was years of understanding how the human mind works. One afternoon after school, Ryan gathered his courage, walked across the parking lot to the athletic building, and found Coach Miller in his office. He knocked on the doorframe, stepped inside, and said with genuine desperation in his voice, "Coach Miller, I need help. I just can't focus on my studies anymore. When I sit down to study, when I open my books, my mind keeps jumping from one thing to another like a wild animal. I think about my phone. I think about what my friends are doing. I think about everything except what's right in front of me. What can I do to improve my concentration? How do people actually focus?" Coach Miller looked up from the papers on his desk, studied Ryan's face for a moment, recognized the sincerity in his eyes, and smiled gently. He stood up and said in his calm, assured voice, "Controlling the mind isn't easy, Ryan. Most people never learn how to do it. But come with me. Let me show you something that'll make this all clear." He led Ryan out of the office, across the gym floor where the basketball team was practicing, and out to the school's athletic field. The autumn air was crisp. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky orange and pink. From the equipment storage room, Coach Miller brought out a compound bow and a quiver of arrows, the kind used in the school's archery club. He walked about 50 feet out into the field and set up a circular target board on a stand, the kind with rings of different colors leading to a small red bullseye in the center. He came back to Ryan, handed him the bow, and said, "If you can hit the center of that board, the bullseye, I'll know exactly how focused you really are. Go ahead, give it a shot." Ryan took the bow, feeling its weight in his hands. He'd never done archery before, but how hard could it be? He knocked an arrow like he'd seen in movies, pulled back the string, aimed sort of in the general direction of the target, and released. The arrow flew through the air and missed the target completely, landing in the grass several feet to the left. Coach Miller walked over calmly and asked a simple question. "Ryan, what were you looking at when you released that arrow? Tell me honestly." Ryan thought about it and answered truthfully. "Well, I was looking at the trees over there swaying in the wind, the football team practicing on the other field, some birds flying overhead, and yeah, I guess I was looking at the board too." Coach Miller shook his head slowly and said with quiet intensity, "That right there, that's your real problem, Ryan. You're trying to look at everything at the same time. You're trying to process every single input around you. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you because this is the key to everything. A good archer, a skilled marksman, only looks at one thing, the target, nothing else. When they draw that bow, the whole world disappears except for that bullseye. The trees could catch fire, a helicopter could land behind them, and they wouldn't notice because their entire focus is locked on that one point." He paused, let that sink in, then continued, "Ryan, your mind right now is exactly like how you just shot that arrow. It's busy with everything around you simultaneously. Your iPhone with all those notifications and apps. Instagram with everyone's perfect lives. TikTok with endless entertainment. YouTube with millions of videos, video games, text messages, Snapchat streaks. Your mind is trying to process all of it at once, and that's why you can't hit your target. If you genuinely want to succeed in life, if you really want to become a doctor and not just dream about it, then during study time, you absolutely must look only at your goal. Nothing else exists. You have to make everything else disappear. Ryan felt those words hit him hard, felt the truth of them in his bones. He understood the message, but understanding isn't the same as knowing how to execute. He asked with frustration creeping into his voice, "Okay, coach, I get it, I really do. But where do I even start? How do I actually become more disciplined? How do I go from where I am now to where I need to be?" Coach Miller put his hand on Ryan's shoulder and said, "Listen carefully, because I'm going to give you 4 simple rules, 4 principles that have worked for every successful person I've ever coached. If you can follow these, if you can actually commit to these and not just nod your head and forget them tomorrow, that will be enough to transform your entire life. Here they are. Rule number 1, control your thoughts. This is the foundation of everything. Whenever your mind starts drifting in another direction, and it will, trust me, it will happen constantly at first, you have to catch it. You have to notice when it happens and immediately remind yourself. Say it out loud if you have to. This is my study time. This is my focus time. I must concentrate on this one thing right now. Rule number 2, create and follow a strict routine. Your brain loves patterns and predictability. Make a daily schedule and stick to it religiously. Decide exactly when you will study, when you will take breaks, when you will exercise, when you will relax, when you will sleep. Write it down, put it on your wall. Set alarms on your phone. You'll see, I promise you'll see within just a few weeks, your brain will start to automatically follow that routine. It'll become easier. Rule number 3, eliminate distractions completely. Your smartphone, your laptop, unless you need it for studying, the TV, Netflix, all those useless apps that are scientifically designed to steal your attention and your time. They are literally engineered by teams of psychologists to be addictive. Keep them far away while you're studying. Put your phone in another room. Delete the apps if you have to. Install website blockers. Do whatever it takes. Rule number 4, practice daily without exception. Nothing worthwhile happens overnight. Nothing. You don't build a strong body with one workout, and you don't build a strong mind with one study session. Build small habits every single day. Study for 30 minutes consistently, instead of planning to study for 5 hours and only lasting 10 minutes. Small daily actions compound into massive results over time. This is the real key to mental discipline. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Ryan listened carefully to everything Coach Miller said, really listened. Not just hearing words but absorbing them, committing them to memory. He pulled out his phone right there and typed the 4 rules into his notes app. That evening, he went home and sat at his desk with a notebook and pen. He made a strict, detailed routine for himself, blocking out every hour of his day. 6 a.m. wake up and exercise. 7 a.m. breakfast. 7:30 to 11:30 focus study blocks with 10-minute breaks. Noon lunch. 1 p.m. more studying. 3 p.m. break and some free time. 5 p.m. review what he learned. 7 p.m. dinner with family. 8 p.m. light studying or reading. 9:30 p.m. wind down. 10:30 p.m. sleep. No exceptions, no negotiations with himself. He made another crucial decision. He would turn off his phone completely while studying, not just silence it, but power it down and put it in his desk drawer. He deleted Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter from his phone entirely. He installed a website blocker on his laptop that would prevent him from accessing entertainment sites during study hours. Every single time his mind started to wander, and it did. It happened dozens of times those first few days. He would stop, take a breath, and remind himself out loud, "My goal is to become a doctor." This is what doctors do. They focus, they study, they master their craft. At first, those first 2 weeks were absolute torture. It was incredibly hard, maybe the hardest thing Ryan had ever attempted. His brain rebelled, screaming at him to check his phone, to take just a quick peek at what his friends were posting, to watch just one YouTube video. He felt anxious, restless, almost physically uncomfortable sitting still and focusing. But he pushed through. He gritted his teeth and pushed through because he remembered that shame he felt, that disappointment in himself. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, his focus started to improve. By the third week, he could sit for 45 minutes without his mind wandering. By the second month, he was studying for 2-hour blocks with complete concentration, entering what psychologists call a flow state. By the third month, he was able to study for 4 or 5 hours in a day. Actually study, not just sit with a book open while his mind wandered, and he wasn't even getting distracted. It felt almost effortless. His brain had been retrained, rewired through consistent practice and discipline. A few months later, in early spring, he took another important exam, the regional academic competition that schools across 3 counties participated in. This time, everything was different. He had prepared systematically, methodically, with complete focus. When he sat down on exam day, his mind was calm, clear, ready. He worked through every problem with precision. He didn't second-guess himself. He didn't rush. He just executed everything he had learned. When the results came out 2 weeks later, Ryan didn't just pass. He didn't just do well. He came in first place out of over 300 students. He stood in his living room holding the results printout, his parents reading it over his shoulder, all of them with tears in their eyes. Ryan knew in his heart, knew with absolute certainty, that this wasn't just luck or natural talent. Those things had always been there. This was the direct result of his discipline, his focus, his willingness to change and grow. This was the result of controlling his mind instead of letting his mind control him. About a year later, on a warm June evening, when Ryan stepped onto the stage at the County Scholarship Awards ceremony to receive a full-ride scholarship to attend college and eventually medical school, when the audience applauded and his parents stood up cheering with pride on their faces, he remembered something Coach Miller had told him that day on the athletic field. He could hear the coach's voice in his head as clearly as if he were standing right beside him. Ryan, the mind is like a wild horse. If you don't control it, if you just let it run free without any direction, it will drag you wherever it wants, usually off a cliff. But if you train it, if you work with it patiently and consistently, if you show it who's in charge, it will take you to your destination, wherever you want to go. From that day forward, Ryan held on to one unshakable principle, one truth that guided every decision he made. Train your mind with discipline, master yourself first, and success will follow you naturally. It's not about motivation, which comes and goes like the weather. It's not about inspiration, which fades as quickly as it appears. It's about discipline, about doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not, day after day after day. That's the real secret, and now Ryan knew it. If you feel this story should reach more people, if it resonated with you, or reminded you of your own struggles and potential, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay with us for more stories like this. I'll be back again soon with another inspiring story that might just change your perspective. Till then, be patient with yourself, be thankful for what you have, and keep moving forward no matter what obstacles stand in your way.